Hi. So, this is something that's kind of been on my mind for a while and is not necessarily really the style of video that I usually do, but I feel like my heart rarely ever leads me astray. And so, I just gotta bite the bullet. I'm like one of those people that sits on things for a while and feels the urge to do it, and then, once I lose steam, it's difficult to actually get up and do it, right? But I really want to talk about one topic mainly, but I will intersect a little bit into a different topic. But, lately I've been really thinking about the fact that, like, as human beings, we have a lot of power in so many ways. Personal power, there's power as a group, right? Collective power. And there are different nuances and levels to how power is expressed and how power is used or abused in so many different ways. And I think in the world right now we're seeing a lot of that expressed on all of those layers. And it's really got me thinking about not necessarily power itself, but actually helplessness. And last night I was just up. I couldn't sleep. I don't know, maybe it's the new moon, maybe it's just me, maybe it's anything. It could be any sort of thing. Maybe it's, daylight savings time. That got me all jumbled up, but I kept thinking about this topic of helplessness and how helplessness is, I think, one of the hardest feelings for people to sit with, especially when we are in a huge culture now of, I guess, what I would consider like active voyeurism, and where people feel an inherent need to act on everything that they see, any tragedy or any scenario that's going on in the world. And that really just makes me think about, in general, like just the feelings of helplessness. It's like, what do we do when we can't fix something, when there's no set solution, or even if there could be a solution that could work or cause a level of relief and a level of release of a conflict or tension or friction going on in our lives or in the world, or other people's lives and other places in the world that we see on social media, on the news, in the paper, just anywhere in our emails, whatever the case may be. We really struggle to sort of just sit with it, right? If even if there is a resolution, maybe the resources aren't there. Maybe it's out of our control, in that sense of whether we're in control of whether those resources or ideas or that helping hand is going to be given. Maybe that's not in our control. And then we have to sit in that mud, right? That void of helplessness. And, I can understand why it's so tough. I mean, I feel it all the time. It's that strange feeling of guilt, right? And shame. But what I think is the root of that, I think, and why we struggle so much as a society, or just even individually, with feeling helpless, is because of that fear and control. Those more instinctual habits and things that we feel as animals, right? As physical beings of this world. When we view something that is gruesome and difficult and hard to sit with, it brings up complicated feelings, mixed reactions, and things that may resonate or not resonate with us. We end up fearing for our own safety. We end up fearing for our own resources. And I think an instinct kicks in for action, or feeling as if there always has to be that need of action. And if action cannot take place, or if action is not a viable thing or available, then we are at fault and we should be shamed, or we should feel guilty. And I think I see a lot of that guilt, that self-abuse, and almost borderline like a I don't want to say a narcissism, but to a degree it is somewhat related to a narcissism, because, you know, as a society, when we try to overextend ourselves and we try to force ourselves to help a situation or to hurt a situation, whatever the case may be, that we're not involved in, it is a part of a level of narcissism in which we feel like we're the only ones that can fix this, we're the only ones that can handle it, we're the only ones that can save it, right? It goes back to that hero complex of feeling like you're in a position of power, but it's really not coming from a place of power. It's coming from that place of fear, right? Fear and lack of control. That's the other part of that control. When you're watching things that are difficult, you feel out of control. You wonder what it would be like if it were you. You worry, and you feel frightened beyond belief. And, you know, it's not easy, right, to feel in general, right? We're constantly, I think nowadays there's a huge trend and a huge push for people to just feel all their feelings, have every feeling, this and that, you know, unabashed and unfiltered and stuff, and react. And, you know, that's not necessarily what feelings are about. I think, especially these more complex feelings of helplessness, or, you know, you almost feel guilty, you feel useless, you feel like there's nothing I can do, and I just have to sit here and watch something crash and burn, or I have to sit here and watch someone suffer, or I have to sit here and suffer myself. And I think, again, those feelings. Oh, here comes my cat. Hi, Mama. You saying hello? Yeah. Hi, my love. Hi. You're a sweet girl, you know that. As I was saying, you know, feelings are not always meant to be acted upon, right? We have feelings as a way to alert us of what's going on around us, in our bodies, in ourselves, and how we are responding. And our feelings sometimes are through this lens of our perception. And, you know, when things challenge our perception, right? When things challenge our reality, you know, maybe you're living a more cushier existence in a reality where where you are almost in a position of privilege, you know, and beyond privilege, it's like beyond that topic, everybody's in a position of privilege in comparison to somebody else. You'll always find somebody that you're in a better position than in privilege, and whatever that case may be. It's on so many different levels. But, you know, in this case of helplessness and feeling frustrated, is that it's that inability to sit with those emotions, right? It's that inability to allow for things to be what they are, and know that maybe it's not for you to solve, right? It's not for you to help. Maybe your help will cause more harm than good. Maybe, you know, it's not for you to take on. And I think that's a very complicated feeling and process when we're in this scenario now of voyeurism and viewership, and we haven't necessarily learned as a society and as a whole to be observant rather than a voyeur, right? When it comes to the idea of voyeurism, there is a part of that in which, the person views, but they view almost as a temptation. So they want to act, but they can't in that way, or they're not allowed to, or there's that part of a push and pull, right? But an observation, right, and that observant aspect comes from a level of neutrality. It doesn't come from that level of responsibility. It doesn't, and that's a lot of the time when we view difficult things, we see stuff that it's just hard to view, that challenges our opinions of ourselves, of others, of life, of death, of morality, anything related to that moralism and relativism in the world. It can be very difficult to feel like we need to do something about it. And I think when you are able to come from a place of like true observance, right, you release that responsibility, you release that duty, you release that guilt, you release that shame. And I think that that's where true solutions come from. That's where true power comes from. And that's when the space opens for you to see whether or not there is something that you can truly do. There is something of value that you can add to another person's life or a situation or a scenario without stripping away from yourself and taking from something you don't have to give, and if there's nothing you can give, if there's nothing you can do, if you are placed in that position of the seer, of the watcher, of being a bystander in these situations, your power is in that space that you're able to give to these situations to play out as they are meant to, in a way. I don't necessarily really want to discuss or touch on that idea of fate, because I think that's something that, is I don't want to say it's controversial, but I think everybody has a different opinion about fate, same way everybody has a different opinion about God or religion or a lack thereof or anything. And it's less so about fate in this scenario and more so about giving space for the part that you play in these situations, whether in a very minuscule way versus if you're able to play a more prominent part, letting these things unfold. When you respond from that fear and control, because it's uncomfortable to watch, it's uncomfortable to sit with, it's uncomfortable to view and know, and you almost get a bit of a strange survivor's guilt of seeing difficult things and seeing people suffer, or seeing your own friends and family go through hardships, or even yourself when you're going through a hardship and there's not necessarily a solution or resources that are coming about. It's your power comes in that ability to yield. Something that I think is really important that I learned in Tai Chi is that every fight, there's that pusher and then there's somebody who needs to yield. It's that yin and yang and flow of the universe in that sense. And you're not always meant to be on that defense. You're not always ready to act. You're not always meant to respond right away. You're not always here to do something physical in that regard to these scenarios. Sometimes the healthiest, most loving, the most powerful thing that you can do to help and to be an asset in the world is just your pure presence. And I think a lot of people really struggle to sit in their presence and sit in that discomfort of space and silence. yeah. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this sort of topic. Lately I feel like I've always known, I guess this is a little sidebar of why I'm kind of doing this. It's just like, I've always known that my voice is like my biggest asset, and it's a part of whatever sort of gifts and things that I'm supposed to be and give to this world. My voice has always been that thing that garners attention in some kind of way, whether it was when I was an active musician and singing my entire life, or speaking, or talking, or writing, poetry or songs, or any, narratives, or whatever the case may be. And lately I've felt this push to kind of share my thoughts and my feelings about different things and like different topics, and hoping that, whoever needs to find it will, and that whoever it's supposed to resonate with will see it, and finding more ways to do that. And if it's sitting in front of my phone while my cat, my sweet little Siamese twin cat, sits here as this protector, this like thing of person coming and saying hello, and me speaking these thoughts and opinions, can also help to share that thing that feels so integral to me, which I guess is sharing my voice, sharing these thoughts and experiences after a long, I guess, at least for me, a long silent period of not really sharing this voice that I know that is deeply ingrained with my purpose. I need to try again to do so, try different ways, and this way has been on my mind a lot lately. And if I didn't try, I wouldn't know how it would go. So let me know if you have any thoughts or questions or anything else you want to discuss, and if you like this sort of thing, if you like to hear my thoughts and feelings. And honestly, let's be real here, I'm probably gonna just keep sitting here and talking, whether people like it or not. I just hope that the right people find it and get what they need from it, right? Right, Tina. Have a good day.